Thank you. Yeah, this is awesome. I'm going to be like really transparent this whole time about like my personal anxiety. As excited as I am about doing this, I'm super nervous. I had no idea this many people would respond to it. And then I started realizing there's not a lot of spaces to hear from only autistic people. Before we get started, I'm just going to go over real quick some communication guidelines. So things we're going to do our best to practice as people participating in the audience. We're going to be mindful of potentially triggering language and action, and be mindful of our own triggers. Remember, this isn't a group therapy space. We're going to seek first to understand, then to be understood. What this means is, an example is, I feel hurt, I am important, I understand the group is also important. I first want to understand the context of the comment that hurt me, then seek for the group to understand why I was hurt by the comment. We're going to scrap societal requirements to perform white social norms, including toxic positivity, neurotypical and holistic social norms, class status, etc. My dog's making ridiculous noises. I don't know if you can hear him. We practice leading into discomfort and challenging conversations, gaining awareness of how our intersecting privileges and oppressions inform how we interact with one another, being aware of tone policing and how our own biases may be reenacting oppression in the space. We're gonna, if people who are here in the audience could turn their video off and their sound off, that's awesome. We're going to be taking space, making space, valuing feedback as an act of generosity and trust by reflecting on feedback we receive before responding. And lastly, we practice respecting ourselves and each other by speaking with I, and from our own experiences, resisting the urge to compare our neurodiverse journeys, not giving unsolicited advice, staying mindful of pronouns and other gendered language, remembering to tell our own stories, keeping community members' identities confidential, only sharing with explicit consent. Does that sound good to everyone? Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, good.
Is there a doc for that so we can like share that throughout the live in the chat box? So there's a lot of information and agreements. Sometimes we need to come back to them in a space. So I saw asked if there was going to be captioning for the event in the chat box. I don't know the answer to that, so I wanted to just put that out.
I enabled the feature, but it was supposed to actually be presenting that into the chat. But I do have this recorded, and so closed captions will definitely be in the recording for sure. But for some reason, the actual it was supposed to actually be doing it in the chat, but for some reason it's not. So another technical difficulty, but the recording will have it.
Okay, yeah, sorry guys. Again, like we're running into a couple technical things in getting started. So I apologize if this isn't accessible for you. We will have a recording of it. I know that's not as good. Okay, so I sent, Matt, I sent you a link because you're the only one who can share links. There you go. If people can't see it, I'm not the best with Google Docs. I have to do something to make it viewable, but I think it is. So there's a link including communication guidelines. And to get things started, I'm just gonna go through questions for folks here. If people in the audience have questions, please throw them in the chat, and I will get, if they're not urgent, if they're just general questions, I'll get to them at the end of the event. So let's just start with our names, pronouns, our Instagram accounts.
One second.
Yeah.
So sorry. Could you
No.
change the permissions on the doc to be viewable to everyone who has the link?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that should work. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Thank you, Lauren. not good at like balancing a lot of tabs, you know. So right now I'm trying to go back to the tab I was at. Okay, yeah. So let's just start with our names, pronouns, Instagram accounts, anything else you want to include about yourself. I'll go first since I asked the question. My name is Jersey. My pronouns are they and he. I'm a transgender, autistic 35-year-old. I learned I was autistic very late in life after a lot of misdiagnoses. And once I learned I'm autistic, I dove pretty hard into following Instagram accounts. Many of that impacted me are now here like on this panel, which is really cool. Because even just last week, I was looking at like Lauren's posts about, or a couple of weeks about like how to go into your diagnosis. And I was having a new evaluation done, and it like really helped calm my anxiety. So I feel like, yeah, everybody who's included has impacted me in some way, and I know they've impacted a lot of people listening. Should we popcorn it? Should I throw it to someone? Brandy? You're on mute. Matt, you have to.
Okay, got it. It said host unmute. Like, okay, well, my name is Brandy. My pronouns are she, her. I manage the Chronic Couple on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all of those. And Matt and I have a podcast, Spectrum Me Matt, that's married to him. and I am a late diagnosed autistic person also. I was 38 when I was diagnosed. I'm 40 now. And first came my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome diagnosis, which led to my autism diagnosis. And that's sort of been my point of interest, is raising awareness for the connection between those two. And so that's something that I feel very strongly about. And I'm so honored to be here. Just like Jersey said, so many people on this panel were part of my journey to learn that I was also autistic. And so it's just definitely surreal and yeah, to be here. But yeah, and I live in Asheville, North Carolina, and am, as everyone knows, obsessed with my dog Scarlet, who is over in the corner. So yeah, I'll throw it to Lauren Melissa.
Hi, I'm Lauren Melissa, also known as Autianelle or Autinelle. I guess it depends on what you want to call me. And my pronouns are she, her. I was diagnosed when I was 23 years old, so that's coming up on 7 years ago now. And I received my diagnosis like as kind of like an answer and a relief to a lifetime of believing that I was broken, but then realizing that I'm not, that I'm neurodivergent, that I'm different, and that it's something to be proud of. So I write Audie tips all the time, and I am always appreciative of requests. You guys keep me going, you keep my brain moving, and I would not know half of what I know about autism if it wasn't for learning from the community and being asked some really big questions. And Lyric.
Hey, oh, and it worked. I unmuted myself. Woohoo! Hi, humans. My name is Lyric Holman. Some of you may know me as the Neurodivergent Rebel. I am a late diagnosed multiply. Huh? Yeah.
Someone was unmuted. Or
oh. That's okay. So I'm a late discovered multiply neurodivergent adult, meaning I am autistic and I also have an ADHD diagnosis, but didn't find out until I was 29. I also use they, them pronouns because I am a non-binary human. And if anyone cannot see, I am a light-skinned mixed race human in my mid-30s with short green, teal, and purple hair and glasses. And I'm sitting in an RV, which we are full-time RVers, and we're currently stationed near Austin, Texas. And finding out I was autistic late in life really flipped my entire world upside down. As being someone who has been known to be a queer person since I was in my early teens, I understand the importance for being able to be authentic in your own identity. And once I realized how much of an impact being autistic has on so many aspects of my identity, my strengths, weaknesses, the people I enjoy in my life, the, you know, everything I love and just who I am as a person, it just was like this big, oh, moment where everything started to make sense. And I realized I needed to be able to live authentically as an autistic person. And it's something I want so badly for others, you know, like me that I know personally in my family and just generations that aren't even here yet. So yeah, that's why I scream into the void on the internet as a neurodivergent rebel all day, every day, it seems like. I'm supposed to throw it to someone. Ooh, I get to pick choices. Ooh, I want to hear from Tiffany Hammond, though, because I love Tiffany Hammond's blog and Tiffany Hammond's work. And so I'm excited to be in the room with all of these humans here. These are like all my favorite people from Instagram in one room. This is so cool.
Oh, I figured it out. Oh, wait, can y'all hear me? Wait, okay. Tiffany Hammond, pronouns she, her. I am the voice behind Fidgets and Fries. I was diagnosed when I was 18 in college, and then again when I was 35, this last year. I have 2 kids. They're both autistic. Aiden, 14, Josiah, 12. Married, Texan. I like a lot of pie. Like, I was really debating if I wanted to do this or eat the pie that I just got. So that was like a struggle. But
Eat the pie and do this.
I thought about doing that
Totally.
too. I was like, yeah. But my son was like, have you seen you eat? And I was like, yeah, you're right. I should probably not do that. So I'm gonna spare y'all that. I don't know what else to like say, because I think I'm gonna answer a lot of it throughout the thing. So
What kind of pie was it?
apple.
I love apple.
See, it's I'm a toss it to Sandra. Then it's your turn.
It's
Your
my turn. I know. God. Oh my God. My name is Sandra. Thank you, Tiff. I am Canadian, currently living in the UK. It is 11:40 p.m. and I am so happy to be here. I really am. I should have had a nap. So I'm going to try my best to share, like, it makes sense. But I am the writer and podcaster behind the ADHD Good Life. I am self-diagnosed autistic, although my psychiatrist told me today that I should do my assessment. So, yay. And I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 40. So that was really kind of late in life. I'm just so excited to be here. Like, everyone here is some of my favorites. I am just, yeah, I was like, when Jersey asked me about it, I was like, yes, I don't care what time it is. I'm going to try to be here. So yeah, I'm just really excited to be here and to share along with you all. Thanks. And I'm passing it on to, oh my gosh, the other Tiffany.
I think they stepped out, and are they having a hard time getting back in?
Go to
He said that
T.
oh, there, it's gone.
Yeah, do you want me to ask T? T, do you want to?
There's the other Tiffany.
Yeah.
Hmm. Oh, so cool to see people. Um,
Sorry, are we wanting T or the
Yeah,
other
sorry.
Tiffany?
It doesn't matter. It's just, is Tiffany ready? I thought that she wasn't ready.
Hi, I'm Tiffany. She, they pronouns. I was diagnosed first at 19 while failing out of my freshman year of college and again at age 34, both times due to autistic burnout and severe depression. I also have ADHD, epilepsy, and OCD. That last diagnosis led me to get diagnosis for my kids. I just turned 40. Since realizing that I am a parent to autistic kids, I realize how much parents and autistic people have in common and want to see our entire community come together to fight ableism and the same crappy system that is messing us up, with autistic people leading, of course.
That like legit brought tears to my eyes.
Thank you. That was awesome.
T, are you ready to go? And if T's not ready or getting ready, oh, there we go. T, just to introduce yourself, your name, your pronouns, anything you would like to include. Macy, do you want to introduce yourself while T's getting prepared?
Sure, I could do that. Let me see if I could turn on my camera. Okay. Hi guys. I'm so sorry. I'm in the car with my kids in the back, but my name is Macy. I'm kind of neighbor with Jersey here, San Francisco Bay Area and surroundings, and I'm autistic, very late diagnosed. And I'm so happy to be here, and I've learned so much from many other autistics who were ahead of me and actually urged me to get a diagnosis, and sometimes call me out. I'm like, are you sure you're not autistic? I'm like, yeah, you're right. So I am actually a longtime parent coach, and I've been working as a parent coach, and my mission is to really somehow advocate for autistic children so that they can have a better future. And also my other project through our nonprofit Autism Career Pathways, we want to create the how-tos for employability. I'm very passionate to help autistics and neurodivergent people who are needing higher level of support. And that's the type of how-to that we want to develop. We want to build a robust online video training resources for our community. So either click of a button, if you own a bookstore, you own a printing store, you can see the process of career screening, onboarding, and support all at a click of a button. So we're building a platform for that. And then on the other side, I'm also building a platform with other autistic adults to help parents to receive early parenting support the right way with input with neurodivergent people. So those are my 2 projects. So that's me.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. Give me 1 second to message. Okay, so just to people who are watching, I am throwing my Venmo and Cash App in the chat. I'll do it throughout this. And anything people contribute will be split up among participants, panelists, if they so choose. Okay, and I'm going to pass it to Sandra and T.
All right, I'm going to read for T today. Hi, I'm T, they, them pronouns. I've had an interest in autism from a young age because several boys in my family are autistic. I suspected I was autistic as a teenager and self-diagnosed into my 20s. I spent time learning and researching. Once I was diagnosed at 23, it just kind of settled. This is what it's been all along. And oh my gosh, there's so much people don't know. I'm going to tell them. I was very inspired by other advocates. That's T.
And T's Instagram is unmasked with 2 N's. Yeah. Cool. So I'm going to move into some more questions. First of all, like, how are you feeling about doing this live chat? Are you anxious, indifferent, unsure? Has your anxiety calmed since the technical issues? Yeah, I'm just wondering how everybody's feeling. I can tell you, I told some of you, I definitely told Tiffany and Brandy, like in a message before this, like, I just took an anxiety pill. So I was obviously very anxious, which I probably literally, like, if I could do it more, I probably would, but I literally take anxiety pills maybe like 2 to 3 times a month. So that's telling you something. Like, this was the moment I needed it for.
Thank you for organizing it, though. I just want to put that thank you there, especially knowing how much anxiety it's also giving you. So I know I appreciate it. I'm sure all of the participants do as well. I'm feeling good. I'm really tired. Work as a thing, but this has really pumped me up. I took a nap and I'm happy to be here. I also just love chat boxes, so I might just be like staring at it the whole time. I love reading what everybody says. And yeah, pre-game nap. Yes, Alexis, pre-game nap, essential. So yeah, that's how I'm doing, but how's everyone else?
I'll say I'm feeling good, humans. I think I'm too tired at the end of April to have any energy left to put into anxiety. I'm just like, you ever get to that stage where you're so tired you almost feel like you're a little bit drunk because you're just like tired, and it's like I've got a tired buzz going. So I'm so tired, I've become very zen. And tech problems, I'm like, tech problems, whatever. When normally that would really get me. And I'm like, it's okay, we survived April, everything is good. We did it.
It's kind of perfect. It's at the end of the month, right? This call.
Yeah, totally. And no pressure to anyone, any panelists. I know we've talked about this a lot, but I want to remind people, you don't have to respond to everything or anything. It's totally up to you. If I feel like there's been a amount of time that we should move on, I'll just start doing that, and feel free to be like, actually, I was going to introduce myself,
Hello. I am, well.
Oh, hey, thank you, Nicholas, if everybody could keep their chats on mute, so it'll just help us get through this. I apologize, it's not in presentation mode, but it's working. So if anybody wants to add how they're feeling, another question I have is,
T said T said something in the chat. T
Oh.
said, I'm quite anxious and it's hard to think when anxious, but I'm here.
Thank you, T. Yeah, and please do what you just did. Just like interrupt me if I don't. It's actually, you were saying you love to read the comments. I like have to have it closed. I keep opening it to see if T's written, and I'm just not going to do that. And you guys can just interrupt me. Cool. So do you guys have any? Like, I'm asking this knowing at least one person has a really funny answer because I know they do. But do you guys have any like reactions to extreme emotion that sometimes surprise people?
Me. When I saw this question, I was like, oh, I love this one. So I have this thing, and I've always had it since I was a kid, where if I get really excited or nervous to a certain point, I will throw up. So it was really tough for me because I was a professional singer. So every show almost, I would have a trash can ready and barf and walk on stage. And it would just be like, you know, I'm not going to let it stop me. But it's something that I have had to deal with. For instance, when I was dating before I met Matt, I would get really nervous right before going in to meet, you know, whoever I was on the date with. So I would have like mouthwash and a cup to throw up in my car because it was like, okay, puke, mouthwash, ready for the date. All right, let's go. And then once I would get it out, usually I would be okay. But I think it's just really unfortunate because I feel like my throat closes up and yeah, it's not like I can hide it, especially with that. But yeah, so that's my unfortunate reaction. And oddly enough, I thought I was gonna have to throw up before this, but I feel super comfortable being around so many other people like myself that I haven't wanted to, not even once. So surprising.
Maybe it's that we've been addressing it so much too. Like I keep being like, are you gonna barf?
Yeah. I just gave a presentation and there was almost like 60 people a couple days ago for the for AA&E, and I had to step away because it was like I was I was so nervous. But then once I took a breath, I came back, you know. So I'm really I'm happy that's not happening right now.
Anyone else have just extreme reactions to or reactions to extreme?
When I see people cry, I run. I physically run when I see people cry. So people think that's kind of rude, but I don't know. My body just does it. I don't do it.
That's relatable, I think, because the thing I'll do, not crying, but it's like if I'll walk into a room or a situation is happening that doesn't make sense or is illogical, my brain is like, nope, and I'll just turn around and walk out. Like I don't even know I'm doing it. I'm like, this is not right. I'll just pivot. My partner has been like, what on earth just happened? I was like, I just didn't understand what I saw. I was like, nope, bail. This not compute. Just like, or smells, like the same thing, like smells I'll run away from, like I will run. I've got a sensitive stomach too, but the anxiety doesn't get my stomach so much as my armpits, like the sweating profusely. That it used to get my stomach more, but the armpits, that's the first thing that gets me, in those sweaty hands. Fun, glamorous, right?
So glamorous. This is Lauren Melissa, and I just wanted to say that whenever I face extreme situations, I'm going to be completely honest, I can get really angry and respond with like, I just flare up, and I think it's honestly a cover up for fear. And so I fall into that angry space, and I used to have meltdowns 3 to 4 times a week, but ever since I was diagnosed with autism and able to kind of see what was going on and follow my trigger maps, I've been able to like curtail that. And now I can see like the anger flare up. I feel it right away, and I know like, okay, it's time to practice some self-care. And so that's probably one of my biggest reactions is definitely anger. I know I'm like, I'm an angry person. Like I'm like really cheery, but I can definitely, you see it in my face. Like I'll just be like, and then like have to walk away.
I feel like that's totally relatable, and especially like I definitely don't often get I'm a very cheery person, but but I do get from people like I'm a very like I seem very grounded, very like okay, you know, but that it's like so I think it does surprise people or when that happens to me too, like or it at least makes people I can tell it's like, yeah, it's like can be shocking. But also, like you said, this is also relatable. Before I knew I was autistic, it happened all the time. Like, cause I didn't know what my boundaries were. I didn't know what to ask for. I didn't never knew what was bothering me. It's like how you said just now that like being able to trace back to the trigger. That's like the perfect way to say that because that's exactly like I know that the sound of people doing dishes is going to like not put me in a good state. So like I used to feel like I had to deal with it, you know. Now I feel like I can remove myself from the situation, like go into another room. If I can't go into another room, ask the person to do it later. I could do it myself because that noise doesn't seem to bother me. But yeah, I feel like that's really important. With really severe stress, I've actually talked to Tiffany from Nigh Functioning about this. I also have seizures, and like right before, like the same time the big like I had this huge seizure from, and I was told it was from stress, yeah, and that it was like a big unconscious seizure. I'd just been going through a really hard time. It was like clearly I was super burnt out, and then months later, I realized I was autistic, and I keep hearing so many stories about like all these health things adults go through before realizing they're autistic from burnout, and it's been really relatable. Yeah.
That is exactly the story of my life. It's like I realized like all my life I had these seizures and that they couldn't figure out what was going on because it's like sometimes when you get seizures, like you get nauseous and sick to your stomach afterwards, or if you get like where it messes with your like sense of like balance and it can make you spinny and you get spinny and then you can throw up and get sick. And so the doctors were only worried about like the stomach stuff. And like for so many years, I didn't understand I was having these partial seizures. And they came back when I started to get burnt out from the workplace. And I figured out that I cannot have seizures if I avoid fluorescent light and I have a regular sleep schedule and I get enough sleep and I avoid having too much caffeine and I don't get a lot of alcohol. You know, I like avoid all these things that people who know they have seizures kind of learn that they have to limit, but like I was never treating it that way. And then it was like stress is such a big thing that I eliminated in my life, like change my job, change everything around to get all of that under control. Like the last time I had a seizure was when I was really stressed and I had not gotten enough sleep and had to get up really early to go be somewhere. And I had a seizure on the way somewhere. You know, that's been a couple of years now. Yes, it's been I think 2 years almost. It'll be 2 years in August since I've had a seizure, but it's like, ooh, that can come back at any minute if I don't take care of myself. And it's like a very real and terrifying possibility because it got so bad when I was like 11 or so. The first, you know, burning out at 11, and when it's kids, they say it's regressing, right? A lot of times, but it's the same thing, this burnout. And it was like, hey, I'm 11, and I'm like, I was so sick. It was like, I couldn't even have a life. Like the school's like, you must go to school because this is happening too regularly. So like I'm at school at my desk, like laying on the floor in the middle of the classroom, like next to a trash can, puking in front of everyone. Like it's horrible, because they needed me to go to the neurotypical systems and do everything like everyone else. And like, it's like literally making myself sick to live up to neurotypical expectations. And that's like so many autistic and neurodivergent people are doing the same thing. We are making ourselves physically and mentally ill just to go through the same systems that everyone else is going through instead of fixing the broken systems. It's
Yeah, that's so real.
T was going to say that.
Oh, go please.
I was just going to say T was going to say that reaction that they have is running from physical affection. So
Also very real.
That is also, yeah.
If anybody wants to add more, please do. If not, I'm just going to skip to a question to parents. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. So to the folks that are on the panel that are parents, how is your experience unique as a parent? It's kind of a multi-step question, so if you need me to repeat anything, let me know and answer it however you feel. How is your experience unique as a parent? Do you feel listened to and respected by neurotypical parents and the general population of parents with autistic kids?
Brandy, you're on mute.
Oh yeah, Brandy, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was trying to, what was the question? Was there?
Oh, you're all good. So,
Oh, we were talking about parents.
yeah, to folks who are parents here.
Yeah, that's not me. That's not me. Sorry. I was
Do
someone
you feel
something.
listened to? What? Oh, do you feel like listened to and respected by neurotypical parents and the general population of parents with autistic kids? And how's your experience unique? And just a reminder to unmute yourself. Yeah.
No. Oh, I'll go. Okay. So the first part was, do I feel respected by other neurotypical parents?
Yeah, like parents with, you know, I'm kind of avoiding saying the term autism parent, but that, yeah, is that helpful?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I got it. I want to say, in general, no, I don't. I feel like they respect me more when they don't know that I'm autistic. It's like when they find that out, it's like my stock drops or something, or like my value drops, and what I have to say, they listen to less. And I always found that like kind of odd. In the beginning, it hurt a lot because it was just like I have like these similarities with, you know, you as a parent, like, and then I have these similarities with your child as well, and you don't really care about either of that. Like, I'm not, it's like I can, like, this has literally happened to me like so many times. It's like I can be talking with someone at a parent group or what is this? Kids haven't been in school in so many years. PTA meeting or something, and like on a Monday, they're soaking it all in. You know, they're like, oh, you have really good ideas. This is really cool. This is great. And then it could be like the following week, or then they find out I have a disability or something, and then it's just like, well, I don't know if I should really like. That's not like how my child is, and well, you know, I don't know if I should really actually be doing that. You know, so it's just like nothing about me's changed. Like the advice hasn't changed. My thoughts haven't changed. Nothing's changed except now you know that I'm autistic. And so that is what kept me from really like, when I first started sharing online, I didn't share that I was autistic. I just went with just being a parent. I was just like, I'm just gonna just go this way, go this route. I wanna kind of, you know, help my kids and connect with like parents and see. But I really don't feel like they listen or respect a lot of what it is that I have to say or feel. And it's frustrating, even in the spaces like online. And I have a lot of parent followers and I adore them. like immensely. They are awesome. But it's so interesting to me because I asked one day if my followers had any suggestions of parent accounts that they felt truly listened to autistic adults, or they didn't have to come out and explicitly say, hey, I'm a parent, I listen to autistic adults, but you have to like feel it in their content and the words, like, oh, this looks like a person. This sounds like a person who's gonna like respect what I have to say and think. And I got so many responses. Like I wanna say I got like 200, 250 like answers. They gave me 6 parent accounts that they felt, the same 6. And I was like, wow, we have like a lot of work to do. There's like my community as a whole, the parents and the autistic adults alike, they don't feel in general that, you know, parents, neurotypical parents listen to us. And I feel like we have a long, long way to go. But yeah, I said all of that to just say that I don't think they listen to me, but yeah.
I can
agree.
add to that, I think. So I'm a parent, and I run my parenting Instagram account with just my name, Macy Satantio. I think it's hard to be in the middle. All I can do is be my authentic self as an autistic person, and I love actually inviting other autistic adults to just discuss different topics that will be helpful for autistic children if their parents can be more open and to understand, for example, sensory differences. I just did a series on masking and unmasking, for example, and how to support autistic children to unmask at home and the reasons that they have to mask to begin with. And I don't do it alone. I invite an autistic speech therapist, an autistic occupational therapist. So I just try to do my best to be my authentic self and to translate what being autistic is like to parents. And when parents are open, they will stay as my followers and hopefully ask questions. And if it's not for them, there's so many social media accounts that it's actually on Moria. It's on my posts, and it's I usually do like a month long of important series. I did one on homeschooling versus schooling and just different topics. Yeah, so I think it's important for autistic adults to be role models to autistic kids and their parents. And I don't really sugarcoat things. I just try to do my best. The sensory differences is the main thing because I have auditory processing disorders and also like learning challenges. I can't multi-process. So I just do my best. And I just love to work with other autistic adults like me and Tiffany from NIE Functioning. We're going to collaborate actually to teach a group of speech therapists here in the Bay Area. So I love doing that, just grouping and just doing collaboration with other autistic adults to educate people, neurotypical professionals and parents who are ready to learn. So that's my thing.
And just we'll take questions if you want to throw questions in the chat, like at the end, I'll read those.
In general, parents online do not respect me or
so I'm not sure who's talking, but we can't really, it's coming in really choppy.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, is this Tiffany?
Do you mind muting and posting your question in chat, please?
I couldn't tell if it was a panelist speaking or not. So yeah, if you have questions or comments, please throw them in the chat, because there's so many people here. It would take a really long time to hear from everybody. Cool, it was Tiffany. Cool, Tiffany, do you want to, if you're comfortable, do you want to go again? It was really hard to make it out. It was like choppy, the internet.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
What I was saying is, in general, I do not get respect for the fact that I've been a parent for a while. Generally, once I'm identified as an autistic adult, yeah, they don't tend to hear my opinion after that.
Is it breaking up for everyone else? Oh, yeah, Tiffany, you keep breaking up. If you would prefer to like write it in the chat, one of us can read it, or we could just keep like going back to you to keep trying for internet connection. Yeah, I'm not sure if they can hear me. Okay, you guys think I should move on since Tiffany's internet seems to be struggling? Okay. If you can hear this, Tiffany, when we can hear you, feel free to interrupt us. Whether it's, I think they probably left and are coming back. Okay. All right. So how do other parts of your identity, like how do other parts of your identity and who you are intersect with being autistic? I will go first. Did everybody hear me? Just thumbs up. Okay. So yeah, I'm asking how do, see, this is what happens when I'm reading the chat. I'm reading the chat and I don't know what I'm doing. I can't read the chat. Thank you, Sandra.
I'm reading the chat.
How do, you know, different parts of your identity or all of your identity intersect with autism? For me, I feel like this can be a really complicated question and a hard thing to answer. And I know that. So if you have nothing, very little, a whole ton to say, I get it. For me, I knew I came out as trans in my early 20s, and I started medically transitioning like almost 10 years ago, maybe like 9 years ago. And I thought what was going to happen is I was people like, no matter what, even if we don't get along, there's this thing we can relate on and like stand by each other with, right? But it wasn't until realizing I'm autistic that like big community of people showed up. And the wild part to me was how many people are trans and gender diverse. And it was like, I literally, like, I feel like I have goosebumps just saying it out loud. I'm like, it was like, you know, I'm 35 and I've had friends throughout my life. I've been parts of things. But I've never felt like totally comfortable myself. And when I came out as trans, I was like, what is wrong with me? Like, why don't I get along with trans people even, you know? Like, and then I started meeting autistic people, and honestly, it's like, it's shocking. I have this idea, I'm like, autistic people are just the best ever, but it's really like, because I feel this immense understanding and such a lack of pressure, like moderating something like this with non-autistic people. I don't care what gender people are. It would cause me a lot more stress in, like, you know, I would use too much energy trying to sound excited and smile and fake all these things so that I wouldn't be interpreted as like bored or people think I'm tired a lot, like things that just aren't true. You know, people think I'm in a bad mood because of my facial expression. And I've just been so exhausted of hearing that. And it's just really nice to like feel like I finally have a community of people. And yeah.
Yay. And you're right. Like there are so many autistic people who are also trans and LGBTQIA, like so many of us. It was one of the first things I noticed when I started to tiptoe into Actually Autistic Twitter 4.5 years ago. I'm like, hey, look, this is like a very queer friendly space I'm wandering into. That's interesting because usually, like, I'm from Texas. Okay. I'm not from California, where some of my favorite humans in this bubble are from. And a lot of my favorite people are always from California. I don't know what's up with that. Y'all are ahead of the times, I suppose. But here in Texas, it's not such a great place to grow up as a queer person, unfortunately. And you know, that autistic identity, like at least in my own experience, really does impact every aspect of me as a person, and that's tied very heavily into gender identity because, you know, I mean, if you some of you here may have noticed that neurodivergent people, autistic people especially, don't tend to fit in with social constructs, right? Very neatly. We kind of make our own way and say no thanks to the social constructs a lot of the times. And gender's another social construct. It's like, you know, so many of us like see it and we're like, why do we have to go along with what everyone else is doing? Like you just like with everything else. And you know, it's just so funny to see that, you know, for a long time before I found out I was autistic, I had this really elaborate mask that I had built doing things that I thought I was expected to do because I was trying to get on in life and not make too many waves in society and just not get beat up and not get bullied and not, you know, not be noticed for the wrong things. You know, you make yourself small and you don't want to be noticed and you don't want to be seen, and that's really horrible because you can't be authentic because you're so busy making yourself small. And you know, I had this assignment at birth. It's like, this is you must do this, you are female. Like I was assigned this way at birth, and it was like I had no say in any of this, you know. And when I found out I was autistic, and I started meeting other trans non-binary people, because I'd only ever met trans binary people growing up, and it was like, oh, this is me, this is an option, oh my gosh, like thank goodness. But it was like until I like started to find the autistic people, I had no idea, because here in Texas, like there's not a lot of representation, and I hadn't naturally gone and seeked out a bunch of online LGBTQIA spaces. I hadn't, but I wandered into autistic spaces, and it very much, to me, was like one of the most LGBTQIA spaces I'd been in a long time, other than, you know, if you go to a pride, you know, here in town in Austin, which is like the nearest big city to where I'm at. But we, you know, we don't, I'm from a small town outside of Austin. We don't have a pride here where I'm from or any of that. So it's like, it gave me this community. And then all of this, like, the parallels, I'm now obsessed, and that is not an exaggeration, that is an appropriate use of the word, over all of these parallels between being queer and queer rights and being neurodivergent and neurodivergent rights. It's like all I think about. Like it is, I'm so obsessed with how these things are similar. And it brings me joy to dive into all of that, because it's like, ooh, comparing the things.
Yeah, that's totally relatable. Before I pass it to someone else, I just want to put out there, in case people are considering talking about things that are hard about it, that's also, you know, I can totally relate to everything you're saying. Everything I said before, I was basing a lot of it on like my positive experience as an autistic person, but also what I have realized is like some things are really a lot more challenging being trans and autistic. I can just give a really brief example of like, I have to deal with a lot of medical things, get a lot of you may have seen the post I put up about like how hard it is to get like letters and things like that. So my autistic self, my executive function really struggles with bureaucracy, phone calls, pharmacies, doctors, I mean, all those things, and how being trans and autistic impact each other in that way can be really challenging. So I want to just like throw out that exists as well. and throw it to the next person.
I can speak on this. This is the identities piece, yeah. So I can relate to a lot of what has been said so far. Of course, like, you know, I put in like race, you know, being Black was always going to come first in that, and it just, you know, impacts the whole experience. Like being diagnosed, you know, people talk about being diagnosed when they were like in their late lives and like, you know, in their 20s. You know, I'm thinking like, yeah, 40. That's really late, you know? And the only reason that that I actually even thought of getting an ADHD diagnosis and not autistic at that time was because of my little brother being diagnosed when he was 7. And he got diagnosed because I was adopted by white parents. So they recognized that there was something different. So that's how he was diagnosed when he was a kid, but diagnosed when I was 40. And just growing up in spaces like that, you know, there is the way that their need to mask, I think, for Black people is just way too high, you know? Like there's no like, oh, you know, oh, we're just quirky and strange and da da da, you know, because there's so much that we can, like I felt anyways growing up, but maybe because of just how I grew up or where I grew up, there was so much at risk to lose. And but I wasn't very good at it. Like I didn't know. I was just a mess, like all the time, just meltdowns and shutdowns and things like this. And yeah, it was awful. I think when I think about like the overlap of ADHD and being autistic, I just feel like it's, for me, when I first got diagnosed with ADHD and I was like, okay, meds, I think I'm doing all right. You know, I'm starting to get the hang of it, but then like I wasn't, and it's like the wheels came off and it was just like things that I'm like, wow, I'm really struggling with executive function. Like even with medication, it's like, I still can't sort through it, or wanting to have things like really ordered, but then struggling with things to be just spontaneous too at the same time, and just not being able to find that balance. And I find that even still now, a couple of years later, I'm talking to my psychiatrist today actually, I just said at one point, I'm like, I don't even know how to manage this person that I am now. That I don't know if they were there a few years ago. And I don't even know if that all makes sense because it is like 12:30 here, but I've just learned in this whole journey so far that it's so complex. There's nothing, Audre Lorde talks about, like, you know, that we're not single issue people because we don't live single issue lives, you know, like we are so complex, they all intertwine and interconnect, and it's hard to tell them all apart, I think, you know, tease them apart. That's where I'm at right now.
Can I go?
Sure.
I'll press.
Sandra, is pizza.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I mask ×3. I mask autism. I code switch, and I flip between the gender binary. I have never quite belonged. I have rarely felt comfortable unless alone. Because I am not good at masking in the first place. Keeping track to hide so many parts, too tiring. So just rather be alone.
I just have to say that I just felt like so much of that.
Oh,
Like,
me
it
too.
is too tiring. It
And
is
that's
too
why
tiring.
T's Instagram is blowing up all the time, because that was just like so real and true. And I don't know about you guys, I am exhausted all the time in not appropriate way.
All the time, and just thinking that like there's just so many identities and so many things that you've got to cover up and take care of and just be aware of. I think also with like so many, when you have so many overlapping oppressions as well, I like I'm just thinking, Josie, about when you were talking about like medical appointments and the things that trans and gender expansive like population or community has to manage that others don't. It's just like, and that it's just so much all the time.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes for me being autistic is like feeling exactly what you said. You just ended saying there's too much all the time. I'm like, I always feel, and I know people feel stressed out and like there's a lot going on. I could have one thing to do today. It like completely depends on like how everything else is impacting my life and how I'm able to respond to it, and if any of it is actually manageable. Yeah.
I had to take the day off just to be able to do this meeting. I couldn't mentally do it any other way. So I mean,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank
sensory
you so
wise,
much.
it's needed, right? Like, I mean, I
Thank you
think
so
we all
much.
have to be kind to ourselves, right?
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much for saying that, because I just stared at the void like all afternoon.
Yeah, well, I was like messaging Brandy and Tiffany and Devin, who isn't here, like all my stresses all day. And then Sandra got in at some point. Like Matt, I was sending technical questions to. I just like, I was supposed to, I usually have, my therapist is on maternity leave. If you don't know, I've been posting about it. So it's very much affecting me. But the clinic gave me like a coach, and I had like coaching before this. And after like 10 minutes, I could like feel myself freaking out inside my body. And I was like, I had to just be, I was so honest. I was like, I can't do this. I have a thing at 3 o'clock and I'm like riddled with anxiety. I need to smoke a blunt and sit with my dog for like 30 minutes and see you next week. And she was like, okay, hold on. And I was like, I can't hold on. I can't schedule the next appointment. I need to go now. So while we're kind of on that topic, what kind of, if any, support do you guys have? Or what kind of support would be helpful? For example, parents, partners, organizational support, and nobody has to talk about anything they're not comfortable with. Government support, services, therapy, et cetera, et cetera. What don't you have that would like benefit your life?
I'll jump in because I'm off of mute. Nobody ever wants to go first. It's not fun to go first. I'll say that I feel like I'm very fortunate in the fact that I have a very supportive partners that are fantastic human beings, and that is such a blessing. I was just telling a parent recently the other day when we were talking about their autistic kid that someday, you know, you leave your parents and your partner kind of becomes your new caregiver. You're never really independent. No one is truly an island. There's always some connection we have to have, you know, to depend on someone. This independence, I think, is a myth that they tell us we need to try and have independence. I hate it, you know. It shouldn't be the goal necessarily. I think happy should be the ultimate goal for everything and everyone. Like, be happy, you know, instead of what they tell us to do. But you know what I would love that I don't have, and we kind of hinted at this earlier, talking about like your avoidance of like the executive functioning tasks around medical things and doctors. Like, I do not go to the doctor. Even I need to go to the doctor. I was referred to like go get testing for EDS and an EKG and testing for POTS, and I was just like, Yeah, no. And this has been years. I just never went. I was referred for physical therapy for the hypermobility that I was diagnosed with. And I never went to that either. It was like, I'm like, no, no doctors, no, thank you. I'm so afraid of doctors and everything related to doctors. And we're in America, the health insurance is so terrible that it's like, yes, I pay for this ridiculously useless health insurance that doesn't really cover much of anything I need covered anyway. So it's like, even though I have health insurance, I'm going to go and it'll be out of pocket. So it's like, why go pay to get tortured? And I cannot make myself do it because there's all of these reasons why it makes me not want to go, on like just phobias of doctory things. They always want to poke me with a needle every time I go. And it's like, last time I got poked with a needle, I got sick to my stomach and passed out. So it's like, it is a phobia that I just can't get over, you know. I'm like, so many autistic people have this like medical phobia, I think, because doctors don't listen to us and they gaslight us and they don't believe us when we say things. Like, I went to a dentist recently and I finally found a dentist that I like, and the dentist is like, you're in extreme pain, right? Like, really confused that I wasn't showing that I was in pain. I'm like, yeah, I'm in excruciating pain. I really want to put my face through a wall right now. I'm in so much pain, but I'm just like flat faced. Yeah, I'm in extreme excruciating pain. Like, this is me in extreme pain. Like, but you know, but the doctor thinks I'm just saying I'm in pain. But the dentist could tell by looking at what was happening in my mouth that there was no way on earth I should be in pain. They were kind of surprised I was conscious. But you know, I have this ridiculously high pain tolerance, and unless I'm dying, I'm probably not going to go to the doctor or the dentist. You know, it's like the dentist is like, you would have been in a lot of trouble if you waited any longer for this abscessed tooth. But I'm that afraid of medical things that I'm like waiting until it's dire to even go. So that's what I need is to get over this medical phobia. But I think it's justified because doctors are terrible humans a lot of times, unfortunately.
Totally. Yeah, very relatable. What other kind of ways, oh, Brandy, you're gonna go?
Oh yeah. Speaking of doctors, I see a lot of those because of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and that was something that so much more knowledge is needed. I have a therapist. I have a physical therapist, and for instance, my therapist, I had to bring autism to her. I had to teach her about autism, and you know, she's been very receptive to learning. But when we talked about maybe going to speak to someone who knew a little bit more about autism, we couldn't find one. So much is needed when you're an autistic adult. And then also with EDS, I go to different doctors and some of them can't even pronounce it. And, you know, for me to get diagnosed with this, I was 37 after years of thinking I was lazy, I was a baby, I had a low pain tolerance, I was just not as good as everyone else. I was none of those things. I was actually struggling because I was in pain all of the time, and nobody believed me, nobody would listen to me, and I was just dismissed as having anxiety or hysteria or PMS, and it was just ridiculous how misinformed a lot of the medical community is. So a lot more support is needed in that area as well. But yeah, oh, and speaking of, I guess, positive support, it was really cool to go through my whole diagnosis process with Matt, because we did that together. And I know that's sometimes unique. It's like, first I was diagnosed with EDS, and then Matt was like, I can dislocate my joints too, though. It's like, and so he shows the doctor, and the doctor's like, congrats, you have it too. Let's see you next time. And then he was diagnosed, and then it was like, then came autism, and it was like, wait a second, Matt also does a lot of these things. And then we just went through it all together. So that was a really cool support system. And it's actually where his name came from, Spectrum-y Matt. I don't know, Matt, if you want to tell that part.
It was a nice little dig towards my therapist. I had to convince him of, hey, look, I have this extreme fear of cotton balls. Like, you pull them apart and I'm losing my crap. Like, I cannot handle life. And finally, after like describing that and the details of it, he goes, yeah, that's a little spectrumy. And I was like, all right, that's that. I'm gonna just dig at my therapist the rest of my life, and spectrumy mad it is. So, yeah.
Former therapist, actually.
Yeah, it went through a few after that. Fun times.
I would say like the best support I've ever had in my life was when I lived in Thailand. I didn't know I had ADHD or autism at that time, but we had a nanny for our kid who made my lunches for me to go to work and like prepped all of the food and stuff like that and did all the cleaning. And I was just like, this is amazing. I need this in my life all the time. And now I live in the UK and I can't even really get a cleaner like that can clean to the specifics that I would really like. But for support, I'm a therapist, coach. I keep my friendship circle very, 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 very small because there's only so much socializing that I can actually take because it takes a lot of energy. And my partner, we've been married for like 7 or 8 years, and he's been awesome actually too through like all of this. He doesn't have any diagnoses right now, but he's been really supportive of all of mine and actually very affirming too, because when I told him about thinking that I might be autistic, he was the first person to be like, oh my gosh, yes, that's definitely you. I can totally see that. He had done a lot of research on his own, even before I actually even knew. And it's just so affirming for anyone that like self-diagnosis, you're always like, oh God, but not really, am I? No, sort of thing. So that's really good. Nice.
I just want to make a mention of the time. We started late, but we should probably wrap up pretty soon. I know it's like a lot of people, and so hopefully we can do this again so we can hear more from everyone, because we just get to hear like little bits from everybody, which is I think is really awesome and should continue on. The last thing I wanted to ask is like, how do you think people can be, well, first of all, like we're trying to recenter the conversation around autism. And to me, that like starts like this, right? Just groups of autistic people, like inviting other people who are autistic or not autistic themselves to like see the things we have to say about our life. Because I don't know about you guys, but or you all, but like, I don't, in the mainstream autism movement, I don't see a lot of like voices or people that represent me. How do you all feel about that? Or like, do you guys feel represented by mainstream autism? When I say mainstream autism, I mean like Autism Speaks type stuff.
Not at all.
No. We're the boogeyman, according to those people. We shouldn't exist. They want to erase us. They want us to have been destroyed before we ever were born.
I remember when they rebranded and I was like, why are they still making us sound like we're not intelligent?
Subtle eugenics. It's only subtle eugenics now. No, it's not overt eugenics. It's subtle eugenics. It's much better.
So obviously, like a lot of groups give money, a lot of individuals give money to groups like Autism Speaks. There's an event tonight. It might have started already on the spectrum by what's it called, Next for Autism. So these kind of groups that raise money, with whether they give it to other groups or not, like I know Next for Autism is mostly funding like a psychiatric clinic that includes like autistic patients. Like a lot of the funding seems to go towards curing autism, preventing autism, and or making autistic people like mask or blend into a neurotypical world, which we have all mentioned at some point here, that is incredibly exhausting and like leads to burnout, leads to health issues, stuff like that. How do you think people can like support autistic people without supporting these organizations?
Well, I mean, there are autistic people out there who are just like any other business owner out there having businesses, and you can buy from autistic people and amplify autistic people, share their autistic businesses. Autistic people who are out there like us, we are spreading education, and that is our main mission for a lot of us here in this room today. You can help us by amplifying our voices and sharing what it is that we're trying to get out there, because a lot of us can't afford to pay for Facebook advertising or monetization or any of those things that unfortunately Facebook and these platforms sometimes hold our stuff hostage and say, if you don't pay, we won't let anybody see it. So it's like, help us fight back against those giants that are not letting us be seen. We're fighting against these algorithms, right? And don't share these narratives that are not by autistic people and paint autistic people as if we are some kind of lesser broken version of a neurotypical person. We are autistic people. We're not broken neurotypical people. And it's time we are able to be in control of our own narrative.
Can I
I
say
agree
something?
very much. I think it's, oh, sorry. T, did you want to go?
Yes.
I feel like I'm in the middle of something. The spikiest profile on earth. Evaluator said it's as if I simultaneously should be successful and also could have ended up in a terrible place. Slow processing, but still understand.
Can you play that again? Can you say that again, T? So yeah, just a reminder, if you're in the audience, to just get your video off and mute yourself. T, if you're comfortable. Oh, they just typed it, so sometimes I need to hear things twice before I know what it says. Cool. Brandy, did you want to say something?
I was just going to just make the point that if they would just listen to us, if these organizations would listen to us and not just include us, but step out of the way. I mean, we have it. We have this. There are autistic-led organizations, and so many of these things like Next or Autism Speaks, I just don't think they need to exist. It's like, just let us do it. Let us handle these things. And I think that, yeah, I don't know how long it's going to take for that to happen, but and just listen to us.
I think it's also important to like that even amongst our own community, to be listening to each other as well. Like when you were asking about, do we feel represented? A lot of these organizations only represent, or a lot of, only represent certain types of autistics, certain colors of autistics, certain genders of autistics. And I feel like it's not always about all of us, even within our own community. And I think that's played out pretty well this week, because I'm still over the end of that other event. But yeah, I think that's, even starting from in the inside, the community too, would be really good to support each other, because community care is something and we need it.
So I have someone in our participants that actually they were asked to sit on the board for Next to Autism. They'd like to speak. Is that okay, Jers?
Does that work for everybody else?
Okay.
Okay. I don't.
Please.
I have no idea which direction this could go in, so I just want to give that disclaimer.
I saw that name. I look familiar. If it's the comment I thought I saw.
It was direct message to me. So,
Okay, no, then it wasn't what I thought I said. Okay, never mind.
Okay. So, Constantine, if you want to unmute and ask your question, or not question, tell us what's up.
Sure. Thank you. First of all, I wanted to say I really appreciate you putting this panel together. I think it's so great to have so many faces and names that I recognize through so many different, not just social media accounts, but out in the world doing all the good work come together. My name is Council Member Constantine Anthony in the city of Burbank. I'm California's first openly autistic elected official. I was approached last week to submit my application for the board for Next for Autism. They apparently got very upset about people giving them pushback. So whatever we're doing out there, it's working. It's forcing them to take stock of what they're doing in their practices. They had told me they had a board member for a couple of years who hasn't been on there for a while, but who was autistic. And the first question I asked her is like, why is there only one? I mean, why are you doing a charity for people with zero representation from that demographic? It was just very upsetting to hear that. And so, I played along and I submitted a very unapologetic resume. I explained to them, the language of whatever charity is working on this needs to change. I mean, the words they're using are harmful. The ideas of what they're perpetuating are harmful. ABA therapy is on all of their websites and pamphlets, and it's just, it is something that needs to change drastically. They accepted it. I have yet to hear back from them. So, let's see if they're willing to do those changes. I'm not holding my breath for any of this, but if we keep pushing, if we keep being loud and giving that, speaking that truth to power, these charities are going to start listening. And, a number of celebrities who were scheduled to be on this color the spectrum thing tonight actually bowed out. There were some people who dropped off. So our voices are getting out there and they're starting to hear us. So, keep doing what you're doing. I support the work that you guys are all doing, and it's just lovely to see this come together. So thank you all for this.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thanks for breaking that down. I'm sure it was helpful to a lot of people. It was helpful to me. Yeah, I think, something we have to start seeing from organizations, individuals too, is like we decide what support we need. We decide where money goes. This is something anybody with intersecting identity can relate to. Like when I see non-trans people making money off of trans people, like in medical clinics, for example, it's like a very hard thing. I get very, very upset. I get very angry. They usually end up being people, like if they don't respond well to me addressing it, they're not the kind of people I can have in my life a lot of times. But at the same time, my best friend, like in the world, who's probably in this chat, is ADHD, and they're not trans, they're gender diverse, and they specialize in working with trans folks in acupuncture. And the way they go about it is by having being informed by trans people, like trans people inform the work they do. There's like I think people can get very, they just put hearts in the comment. I think people can get really confused about we're supposed to support and help, but we have to be silent and sit back. And it's like, no, you need to learn how to support and help. And so I think something that it really blows people's minds with autistic people is that we think for ourselves and we can make decisions. And as you can see now, we can come together as a group. We can have probably a much more pleasant conversation than a group of neurotypicals. There won't be a lot of what the heck is that person trying to say? Not to say the autism community is perfect. There's like a lot of work to do. But I just feel like that's what needs to change. I don't want to hear like organizations that have been giving money to, you know, curing autism to now say, oh, but we're giving money to like these nonprofits. It's like, who did you ask to do that? Who instructed you to do that? And also like give money to individuals. They will not be tax deductible. But even right now, my Venmo is Jersey Noah. It's the same as my Instagram name without a period. And it will go, any participant who chooses will have part of it dispersed to them. So for example, you could contribute $250 symbolically. It will get me a new phone that is very broken. You could, but that's if we get more than $250 because it's going to be split. $155 will cover the cost Matt and Brandy put into getting this Zoom to 100 people. Otherwise, we could have had very limited people in here. You know, what is it? $200 to $400 to feed yourself and kids for like a week, I'm sure. I don't even know. Like feeding a whole group of people seems unreal, but you can contribute to our groceries. You can contribute to our day-to-day activities and living and help us like mitigate the amount of exhaustion we have to deal with. So again, I'm putting in the chat Jersey Noah. If everybody in here donated $10, we would have $1,000. Is that math right? Yes. And some people can't donate $10. Some people can donate $100. Some people can donate $500. So keep that in mind while you're making a contribution. It is not tax deductible. It's going directly to the individuals participating. Before we wrap up, like, yeah, some people we've heard from. Is there anyone who like is like, I want to say this thing and I haven't, and I don't have a question for it? Okay, the last thing I'm going to throw out, and you know, I'm going to throw it to Tiffany if you're comfortable, Tiffany Hammond, because I've got to like witness as like someone who's become your online friend and also someone who has been following you since like, you know, over a year ago. I've seen your account grow. And it's like, I remember one time I messaged you and I was like, you have 7,000 followers today. And you're like, don't tell me that. You're like, I don't want to know. But I was like, I looked at the other day, it was like 2,000. Like, I just haven't seen an account grow that fast. And especially certain periods of time. It's like a week. I don't see your account for a week. Then I look and you have 30,000 people. Like, it's really surprising. And I'm wondering like how that feels to have people like relate so much to what you have to say. And
it's well deserved.
Thanks. Man, I'm like overwhelmed like most of the time. Like, it's so weird because like I've had like these few people that have been following me for like so long, like you, Jersey, and like a few others, and they're like, I remember when you had like 700 followers, you were just ranting on here. I was like, and you would tell me like, I just needed to reach one person. Like, that's what I would tell everybody. I was like, I just need to reach one, just the right one person. And then I'm gonna shoot all the way to Oprah. I know it. Just one person is gonna connect me with Oprah. I knew it. But I wasn't expecting like it to happen the way that it did, or like so fast, or like have so many like people and like different people. Like, I didn't want to just have like, I didn't want to just be like a space that was just like parent space, or, you know, just an autistic space, or I wanted to do like all of it. I want to do like parent, autism, writing, poetry, funny stuff, like just like kind of like put a bunch of who I am into it, but also let you know that this is an advocacy thing. This is what I'm trying to, you know, do, make the world a better place for myself and my children and their children, and everybody else's children, all of that. But like to grow that fast is like, is overwhelming. And like you said, I don't like to look at it because then I get like really stressed. And so I try not to look at it, but then when I have to go and change my bio, then I see it. And then I'm like, I'm stressed like for like 2 weeks. And then like you get the messages and then you're just like, I gotta answer them all, and I have to like respond to every single one. And then I'm like, I don't know how to help this one, but then I like try to, it's so overwhelming, but I'm so excited for the like support and the love and the sense of community, because it's something that I didn't have when I was diagnosed the first time. I didn't have community. I didn't have like, there was no neurodiversity when I was diagnosed the first time. It was just a scared kid, like 4 hours away from home in college, and I get diagnosed, and I'm alone, and I had no one else there, and just trying to figure it out and trying to push everybody away. And that's when I met my husband, and that was like the first thing that came out of my mouth. It was like, I'm autistic. I'm autistic. And then he was just, I thought I was trying to scare him like away because I couldn't do like people. And there's like, he's just always was there. And I was just like, I don't want none of this. And I thought it was gonna.
He's just always there.
Yeah, he was. He was like there. He was like, want McDonald's? He was want some chicken nuggets? And I'm just like, no. And he didn't go away. So he was like my only real like support, was just him. And I didn't have community, and I didn't have a home, and I didn't have a place, and I didn't have any of that. So to go from there to now, where you have like a bunch of all of y'all and everybody else, it's just like, it's so like amazing and overwhelming at the same time. But I got all you guys to like help me get through all of it. So it's less overwhelming. We could just sit around and pop anxiety pills together.
I mean, that's what we did today. That's what we like. Essentially, everyone I was messaging that telling I took an anxiety pill, I was getting them right back, being like, "Me too."
I love that you can hear the Texas.
Oh yeah, you have a great Texas accent.
I try to keep it like real, like light, and then everybody's like, when you get real excited, it come out. Could you be like, really? I'd be like, oh my gosh.
It feels like home. I love it.
Brandy has an amazing accent too. It's interesting to hear the difference in Southern accents, because Brandy's is like slow, and Tiff, yours is quicker. Like it's like in every, like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like Brandy draws out the syllables, and you talk fast, Tiffany.
I'm trying to get through. Like if I get through it real fast, then I'm done. But like with my family, I slow it because they have a slow draw too. So it's like you gotta slow it down a little bit, and then you gotta kind of like pick it up a little bit. And then it's different in different parts of Texas because so doggone big. So like when we lived in East Texas, I was like, I can't understand nothing else. Like,
oh no, talk about a draw.
Yeah, now I'm in West Texas, and they can't understand anything I'm ever really. So that's one of the things that makes it hard here. And I rely a lot on like writing and typing and texting here, is because they make me kind of feel a little bit more like, not want to say ashamed, but when I get like in those spaces where I feel like, okay, this is the second person today who didn't know what I was saying, and then I get overwhelmed, and then I probably won't speak for like a week.
That's so interesting. That happens to me too. And we've talked about this kind of in messages a long time ago, but like even during this, I'm really trying to articulate myself. But one of the reasons I hate being on the phone is because people don't understand what I'm saying.
Yep. And that gets to me too. And then a lot of times it's like my family will try to say, oh, it's just the accent, it's just this, but I always think it's something like else, or like I feel like it's something internal like in me or something. Like they just think I'm broken, you know, and I just kind of like blow it up a little, and then I'm just like, okay, and then I just drop off and I don't speak for like a while until I get the courage to do it again. And it usually requires me leaving the area that I'm in. Like I have to actually leave West Texas to feel better and then come back. And then I'm like, okay, I'll try again, like a reset. Cause like Lyric knows West Texas is weird and it's I need to be in Central Texas with my people. So
Central Texas is the only part of Texas that's okay.
It really is. It seems like it's the only kind of tolerable place in a state where there's a lot of intolerance.
It's a blue dot in the middle of a big red
I
gooey
was going to
mess.
say that there's a blue dot in the middle of Texas.
Yeah,
that's what I've heard. It's called
it's hard.
Thank you. So very last thing, I swear, like if you think of something, if you don't, that's totally fine. But like an autism stereotype you hate and break. I'll start for an example. I actually have heard Tiffany say this too. I've talked to some of you a lot. I hate the stereotype that we're not funny. I think I'm hilarious. And I meet other very hilarious autistic people. And I feel like the whole point of like not getting jokes is very like, well, sometimes there's like an underlying meaning that's not being, like the joke's not good if it has to be explained, and even to an autistic person, you know. But yeah, just like quick, wanted to see if people have their things before we head out.
Yes, I will say I hate the one that says like we're all like emotionless robots, right? And I get that because sometimes, because I have these really intense, overwhelming emotions, like there's lots of emotion happening in here. Like I'm happy, I'm like really, really happy. That's so happy it's gonna come out of my hands, you know? And then if I'm scared, it's like the same thing. I'm like, ah! Like I'm like gonna have a heart attack from like some tiny thing that startled me, you know, because it's like so much emotion. But then at the same time, sometimes there's that thing where it's like you get so much emotion, you just shut down and do that emotional wall thing where it's like, I can't deal with this emotion right now. So I've just like shut it off. And then, you know, externally that looks like, oh, you're very emotionalist. And it's like, no, it's just overwhelmed by my emotions. So that one gets me, that because like I can be a loving person. You know, I have emotions. I'm not emotionless. I'm not, you know, any of those things. In fact, my emotions are too much a lot of the time, you know, and it's like I'm constantly dealing with all of these feelings.
Totally relatable. Is there anything anyone else just hates?
I have one. I don't like the stereotype that we don't have the capacity to be professional entertainers. The person who diagnosed me even told me I almost did not get my diagnosis because I am a professional singer. And so if it weren't for the interview with my mother and her saying all of the things that I did as a child that was classic autism, I wouldn't have gotten it. So yeah, and so we are capable of being entertainers. I mean, Anthony Hopkins just won his second Oscar. So yeah, and he's autistic, found out at 70. So yes, we can do those things. Comedians, singers, actors, actresses, like we can do all of those things. In fact, we act all the time, so we can probably do them better.
Oh yes, absolutely. And it's like I come from a musical theater and circus arts background. So yes, we are very creative humans a lot of the times. It's like we're not all math creatives. Like we have different ways we can be creative. And that hypermobility makes you a good circus entertainer.
Yes. Oh, and it helps your vocal cords. My range is really big because of EDS. And so I could hit the Mariah Carey notes and people would freak out. Yeah. So thanks EDS for that.
Once upon a time, I got like some kind of nodes or voice shift in high school, and my voice got lower. So I don't have high notes anymore. But yeah, I used to.
Sandra, were you going to say something?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say in the chat is a good one about you're too social to be autistic. And it's like, do you know, like, which was in the chat, but I'm thinking, I'm like, do you know what I've done to be social? Like, to actually, I've been so social that I've even fooled myself into thinking I was social and everyone else around me. Like, I just feel like it's just, that was definitely when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, I really hate that one. And the math one really gets to me. It's like what happens if you're not good at math? Like, does that just like not everyone, that one really, really bothers me. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Dyscalculia, so I can't math.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Exactly.
Yeah. Although I'll say I fit the PE stereotype where I can't catch anything you throw at me.
The masculine male
I'm
or the
ridiculously
masculine
athletic.
brain as well. Oh, sorry. I was just thinking about that, where they have the gendering of the presentations as well, and the masculine brain or whatever.
Yeah.
That Cohen is. I'm like, what? What is that? Like,
it's like vomit worthy. Yeah.
ugh.
Brandy doesn't make you want to puke. So yeah, you said something Lyric that made me think like that's a good one. I feel like I actually told this to myself because I knew some things about autism, not what I know now, but even when I started thinking about myself, I was like, but I'm really athletic. Like I just have a very natural athletic ability. Like that's how that was like the thing for me.
I can't
among other
relate
things.
it very well, I'm sure. I'm seriously, I can't relate it well that everyone is in a section. So I'm here to join to help grow and experience.
Awesome. Thank you. We're about to wrap up.
Say
But
one
what
thing?
you're yes, go on, T.
I want to say about acting, I'm good at that because I'm not pretending. My feelings are genuine when I'm being someone else on stage.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Like I want to read a book by T.
I know. I was just
Same.
thinking that.
Yes.
T, that was just like, I was like,
Please.
spoken to my soul. I don't even like.
If maybe before we go, we can all just say our Instagram accounts. So mine
Everyone
is
follow T.
yeah, and that's why I'm saying that. I'm like, was gonna go. Everyone follow Unmasked with 2 N's, and I was like, wait, we should all do this. My name is Jersey Noah, so my Instagram name is jersey.noah. If you go to just Jersey Noah, you will find me like 10 years ago. So jersey.noah.
I'm neurodivergent rebel on Instagram, all one word. Also queer neurodivergence if you want to look into more of my LGBTQIA neurodiversity intersection stuff. Even more so than I do on the main Neuro Rebel page, believe it or not.
I just text mine on the chat box at Macy Sotantio and at Autism Career Pathways.
I'm at the ADHD Good Life. My name is Sandra. Thanks for being here, everyone.
I am at the.chronic.couple on Instagram and the Chronic Couple on Facebook. And then that's also our podcast name also. Maisie messaged me really quick. As her Wi-Fi is messed up and she asked me to mention Autism Career Pathways, which she created, and Caitlin Stamos are doing a live May 7th at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Yeah, so everybody tune into that if you can on Instagram.
Hello.
Oh.
Hello, Brandy. It's so nice to meet you.
Hey, sorry to interrupt you, but we're gonna wrap up. Yeah, but it is really nice to
I
see
guess
your
I'll
face.
join next time whenever I need it.
And who else didn't say their names? There's Spectrum and Matt.
Yep, and one little note for the next month, I can do 500 people in this kind of forum for next time. So if we want to do another one, we could consider that
Cool.
as well.
We have Fidgets and Fries, Tiffany.
Unmasked with 2 N's or 3 N's, right? 2. Thanks. That's
Okay,
what I thought.
Unmasked with 2 N's is T. We have Auti now. which you can see like it's typed out on their screen. And somebody who was going to participate but couldn't make the date is Tim from Kiddish Gambino. So Kiddish with 2 Ds. And just before we wrap up, last thing, just a reminder, I very heavily, I'm obviously getting tired. I feel like we're all going to crash after this. I think it's incredibly important to give money to autistic people, not just organizations. And if you do give to organizations, choose your organizations wisely. So when I say give to autistic people, I mean right here, right now. Again, my Cash App and Venmo has been in the chat. It is Jersey Noah. For Cash App, you have to put a $sign in front of it, just like anybody else's. I do not have PayPal. Yes, thank you for putting Kiddish Gambino. I think there's 2 Ds, but I'm not sure. Thank you, everybody. I hope we can do this again. And I'm really bad at goodbyes, so somebody else end it.
All right, humans, thank you so much for coming and spending this extended time with us today, and for all of your patience as we figured out the technology and getting all of that in. Hopefully next time we can have more people in here. We'll talk about doing another one behind the scenes. I'm totally down to like another one with 500 people. I think that'll be fun. But anyway, humans, thank you so much for supporting and amplifying autistic people. I hope we can see you all again in the future, and have a great rest of your weekend.
I'm literally laughing because that was so good. That was such a good goodbye. Like, I'm sitting here like, what?
You did it.
Years of practice.
That was
It's all
amazing.
practice.
Thank you all. Like, yeah, I'm glad you all decided to do this. This makes me really happy. Yeah.
Thank you, Jersey.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, humans.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.